And here we are, guys, on the map, Daybreak, game number 1 between our two teams in this Team Arena Challenge 3 lower bracket elimination match. And here we have our Zerg player in the yellow from the team Dignitas, from South America as well, I believe. It is KiLLeR. And at the top right, in the red, our Protoss player currently living and practicing in Korea. For Evil Geniuses, it is HuK.
Yeah, very cool that they're throwing him out first. Idra had actually been their kind of go-to first player in the past couple of sets.
He's done well, too.
And, yeah, I mean, HuK is also a player that just all of a sudden just really practices and focuses on a tournament and can just destroy it. We've seen it in MLGs in the past. We've seen it in GSLs. So I'm really looking forward to what he brings out here against Dignitas.KiLLeR, one of the many players named KiLLeR in StarCraft 2 at the moment.
Oh yeah, plenty of KiLLeRs. I mean, you know, when you pick your StarCraft 2 name, you want to pick a tough name like KiLLeR. You don't want to pick something wimpy like Nestea. I don't know how anyone would win, you know, with a name like Nestea, but no, I'm just kidding.
EG in rally points. HuK. Wow, he's so good.
He's quite an artist with the rally points, I gotta say.
No kidding. Glad I caught that. Like I ran away for a second. I was like, that was a lot of rally points. HuK makes designs. I better go back there. So, looks like KiLLeR, of course, going to go for pool first. The starting map is Daybreak. Very, very, very good map for 3-base no-hatch Roach Max, and we'll see if KiLLeR wants to be very aggressive with that. I have seen him use a lot of infestors lately, though, too.
Man, did you see any of the GSL matches from last night? It was tough. I haven't seen too many of them myself, but I heard about a couple of them.
I actually caught some recaps, and I was able to watch a little bit of Nestea when he was suffering from a bit of insomnia when he decided to basically 6 and 8 pool his way into a into a round of 8 berths.
6 pool, and it was on Daybreak. It was on this map that we're watching right now. Yeah, the GSL last night. He 6-pooled Supernova. He was a very good Terran player. You usually don't 6-pool Terrans, but if that Terran does go for a crazy economic opening like Supernova does, you can get right in there.
And looks like HuK can opt for Nexus first, Forge afterwards. But and also I caught Goose comments saying that because he will of course be matching up against Naniwa in round of 8, saying that he could do whatever he wants and it doesn't matter because he's still going to beat Naniwa. Those very strong words, but hey, if you want to see that guy live, you should come out to Hot Import Nights on Saturday. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to ask him about that. I'm going to be like, come on. You have to take Naniwa seriously, man. Yeah. I'm going to ask him about that when I see him tomorrow.
Well, we'll see here now as KiLLeR, of course, opting to put down his next hatchery in just a bit. Looks like HuK not choosing to block, just keeping his probe up to the top left-hand corner, maybe unscoutable for a bit. And we just saw a click there from KiLLeR, so he's going to be checking around for this probe, but I don't know if he's going to get close enough.
Yeah, that's a pretty common place, actually, for Protoss players to hide their probe when they want to come in and scout later, so I would not be surprised if he does see it, and it's going to be close. And did he see it?
Let's see here.
I think he may have caught a glimpse of it, but he might not have been paying attention.
How did I bring up that tab? That's what I want to know.
Oh, that's Control-A. That brings up that one.
Yeah. Boom! Look at that. Oh, and HuK dancing with his...
That's right. He's happy. He's happy that his probe did not get scouted. And the thing is that even if KiLLeR had seen that, you know, which I think he came in range maybe for just a second, it would have just been like the barest split-second blip on his mini-map. So very easy to miss even at the pro level. And HuK will bring that probe back in to do a little bit more scouting.
All right. And
there's third.
Oh, and it looks like he does pick up on it right away, and KiLLeR not going to be able to see him because the hatchery, of course, has no range. There, finally, a circling does cross paths with it, and looks like he's going to send a few up because he did catch a glimpse of it to go ahead and set an attack path. Now, let's catch up on what things are happening now. KiLLeR just about to finish up his 3rd base. HuK, on the other hand, sitting on just gas 1 and 2 at the moment, has not opted for his future ones. If he was going for super, super fast Stargate play, we'd see those very, very soon. And he did start +1 weapons after he actually went after his Warp Gate research, so maybe a little less aggressive, or just maybe planning something out with a Robo here. Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see here. So much stuff coming close to scouting that probe, but it will not be seen again. A little bit of micro with the Stalker gets him away from those Zerglings, and yeah, that Overlord's not going to see it too. Crazy.
So let's see here now. HuK going ahead and taking control of the Xel'Naga Tower, and he is going to be able to dispatch up these Lings. Eventually, he'll lose a little bit of health there, a couple more being sent up, but KiLLeR kind of throwing away a couple of Lings here. For what reason, I'm not really sure. He's not going to be able to take control away from the Stalker. 1 Ling running around the side, though, to try and pick up on things.
Well, yeah, it's really, really tough to kill off a Stalker with Zerglings unless you can get a surround or you have speed, and Dignitas really didn't have, or Dignitas.KiLLeR, rather, didn't really have either of those, so... yeah, it didn't really work out too well. He's getting his Roach Warren now and a couple more gases. HuK in the meantime putting down a couple gateways, well, 5 more to be precise, so we are going up to 6.
Yeah.
No Twilight Council or anything just yet, though.
7 gates.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Indeed.
So this is going to be a very strong push, and you are correct. No Twilight Council, so +1 weapons is going to finish up, and we'll see if he decides to go after another upgrade after that, start maybe +1 armor, something along those lines, and he's already dropping down those pylons up at the front.
Yeah, I mean, he could decide to go for just a +1 attack. That might be what this is, considering that he would hit very, very quickly at a time when KiLLeR will not have a lot of offensive units out. Some players do choose to wait for 1-1, but I really do like this timing. Even though that pylon is getting scouted, HuK gets a probe into the main. Wow, and I don't think KiLLeR recognized that.
And looks like he finally does react with the Queens. He's trying to put down another pylon here, and he will start to... This at least is going to occupy the attention of the Queens for a while, and he'll start warping in up at the top. +1 weapons just finishing up.
Yep, here we go. And the Zealots coming in right now. A couple sentries coming behind that. 1 Stalker as well. And does KiLLeR have enough units to handle this? He does have a supply advantage right now, but it all depends. Oh, those force fields are pretty nice from HuK. Perfectly spaced.
Yeah, he was actually able to pick off 1 roach there. The other ones were able to get around the side next to the extractor. A few more warpins coming in for HuK, though. Actually warping in sentry so he can continue with a few force fields. Doesn't want the offensive damage quite yet, but he'll start to need it pretty soon. There, finally, a couple more Stalkers making their way in.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Dignitas.KiLLeR has a lot of units out right now, and he's been able to keep HuK from really getting a lot of forward pylons in a good position, so HuK's going to have a hard time pushing this, and I think he knows it. Yeah, he's putting down 2 more gas, so he's not even going to try to end the game with this or anything. In fact, he's going to go home. Yeah, I mean, KiLLeR just happened to have enough units. Finding those pylons really, really helped as well, and HuK's going to have to do something else to win this game.
And we do have a robotics facility coming up. The Overlord correctly scouting the Artosis pylon, and we'll see what HuK is going to do from here on out. No +1 armor coming up. There's the Twilight Council finally, though. Back on KiLLeR's side of things, we do have that lair tech on the way. Roach Warren is already finished, but I don't think there's an evolution chamber quite yet. So
yeah, that's a bit surprising. He hasn't put one up as far as I know as well, too. So, okay, taking out those pylons, a good thing to do as well. I wonder if we're going to see HuK go for some sort of immortal timing out of this. If he does decide to do something like that and goes for, like, you know, blink along with that and +2, then he could potentially hit at a time when KiLLeR is trying to go into a different type of tech potentially. So it's a possibility, I would say, for HuK, but he may just decide to take a 3rd with this as well. That wouldn't be a problem either.
And there is +2 and blink, but of course if you were going for that kind of fastest possible +2 and blink, they'd be finishing up pretty quickly now. I mean, they'd be almost done. So once that moment passes, it's very difficult to try and get in on a Zerg opponent who is going to be close to max. But as we can see, KiLLeR actually going after a Hydralisk Den.
Yeah, so KiLLeR kind of thinking that he could maybe hit a very specific timing where HuK is a little bit weaker, just kind of bull rushing with Roach Hydra. Not something we see very often in PvZ anymore, but we'll have to see how it works out. I kind of feel like HuK is kind of making things up as he goes along at this point. You know, I mean, I feel like that 7 gate was meant to do a lot more damage than it did, so HuK is kind of not really scrambling, but having to think on his feet a little bit more than normal.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. He does a little bit of additional damage to his pylon there, so apparently he's a bit out of line. Now, Immortals being added into the mix, 3rd base coming up, but he's already thrown down 7 gates, so, you know, any additional gateways he uses as a wall here to kind of close this off, I mean, are nice, but he's going to be, because of the investment in infrastructure earlier, sacrificing a bit of supply to get those down. Now...
Oh, okay, yep, KiLLeR. I was just about to say, I wonder if he's going to drop, and I look in the production queue, and there you go. Drop play on the way from KiLLeR. We've seen this actually more often lately in PvZ, and HuK knows it too. I mean, he knows it's a possibility on this map. He's got Stalkers in position. Those aren't just to watch for Overlords. Those are to watch for drops, so we'll have to see.
Well, HuK making his way in with a Warp Prism now, but there's already plenty of defenses here. He's not really going to be able to get anything done. He'll just have to kind of go on by.
Those Hydras getting pretty close to taking that out. That was a scary moment for HuK. Lost all the shields, but didn't really lose any health on it, so that is nice, at least.
Yeah, it looks like HuK just going to sit right here where he knows he's not going to be picked up on. Now, of course, moving over to a bunch of upgrades and Hydralisks did set back KiLLeR's macro just a little bit in terms of overall supply, so HuK has been able to pretty securely take a 3rd base, and that's pretty important. He also has that Stargate up as well. We'll see if we get a Fleet Beacon here in a second, or if he's actually going to use that for Stargate units.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because he's getting that robotics bay as well. So, I mean, Void Ray Colossus, always the classic, you know, Protoss versus Zerg composition. Not something we see as often anymore, but it is, you know, still an option for HuK. But I'm really curious to see what KiLLeR's going to do. It looks like he wants to just straight up attack the third base. Oh, I love that SimCity by HuK too, actually. Yeah. Protecting that mineral line. Doesn't look like drops are going to be as much of a factor here. But here we go. Zerglings coming in right now, clearing out a couple units.
Yeah, the Zealots actually taking their revenge against the Zerglings, though. Quite a bit of damage done. At the same time, HuK's starting to drop this base in the top left-hand corner. He's got a few Zealots there, including one lazy one. So this hatchery not going to take quite as much damage. Loses about a third of its health, and then a couple of drones go down, but that will be cleaned up.
Oh, and there are all the Overlords in position. It looks like KiLLeR will be going after that drop play after all, and HuK, his army is actually a little bit out of position here. It's not near the main, and KiLLeR, oh man, KiLLeR has the potential to actually get in here and do some damage.
And we'll see how quickly HuK can pick up on this. He's got to see the Overlords now. Where are the units? Fleet Beacon is on the way as well. The first Colossus is just about to pop up, and he's starting to run some units in. At the same time, KiLLeR's going to make his way down to the bottom right-hand corner. This robotic facility is going to get taken out. No Colossi for HuK at all, and a lot of units are sitting inside of his main.
Oh yeah, and he's got a pretty decent concave on top of that ramp as well. He's got units taking out valuable tech buildings. The robotics bay getting ever so low. And he will be able to probably take that out too. HuK attacking from the low ground with some nice force fields. He's going to be able to clean this up, but he's lost some good tech here. Oh, actually, okay, there it goes.
Yeah, I mean, KiLLeR did take out some tech, don't get me wrong, but he didn't really hurt the production of his opponent, and he killed some units, but not that many. So HuK actually is able to come out of this pretty decently. I mean, he's still sitting on that fleet beacon. He can go up to Mothership in a second and go back over to Templar and actually just cut out robo units altogether if he wants.
Yeah, he certainly could. I think KiLLeR was looking to do a little bit more damage with that, but, you know, as it is, being able to take out that Colossus tech, that does kind of give him a little bit of breathing room, too. He's got his Hive and his Spire on the way, so he'll be able to move into Broodlords fairly quickly. That Starport is going to come in very handy for HuK if he wants to make some Void Rays to take out those Broodlords, but with the Mothership on the way, too, one good Vortex can obviously end the game in Protoss' favor. Where are those Roaches going?
I'm not sure. Well,
nobody let them know that the fight was canceled.
That's right. Hey guys, we're ready to attack. What's going on?
Let's do this.
Oh, okay. All right, I suppose, if you insist. Well, that Mothership's about a third of the way finished now, so it'll be here momentarily. HuK, on the other hand, just sitting on those 3 bases. Eventually, he's going to have to get to the point where he'll have to think about taking a 4th, but he can sit on these 3 bases for a little while. Does have +3 attacks done with +1 armor on the way, and there's finally our Templar Archives.
Yep, and here we go. If he can focus down those sentries, that'll be pretty good. Oh, a lot of Roaches got in there, actually. Dignitas.KiLLeR needs to get in and focus those sentries. That's going to help out so much, but a lot of Zealots for HuK, too. Not lasting very long, though.
No, and KiLLeR does have a huge amount of Roaches left over. 44 more Links on the way. HuK, though, starting to filter back in with his Blink Stalkers.
Yep. Let's see. So KiLLeR actually killed a decent amount of sentries there. I feel like if he waits until those Links get around and then tries to push again at the 3rd, that may not be a bad timing. The nice thing with this is that if he can win a fight or at least trade efficiently, he's going to have a lot of breathing room to get some Broodlords out, get his army remaxed again. But the Mothership is out for HuK, so he could think about pushing too. I mean, he's still about 50 supply away from max. It would be a good timing considering +1 is only about halfway done, but if he makes a lot of Archons here, this could end up being a strong army. And there we go. Tons of Archons on the way for HuK. Well, 4, but and who knows how much they weigh, really. It may not actually be tons, but it's a strong army either way.
It is. They're metaphorical tons of Archons. I accept this.
Metaphoric tons.
Yes.
That's right.
All right. Well, HuK does have a pretty strong army. Changelings, not really going to make it all that far. HuK taking a 4th base in the middle of the map as well. Back on KiLLeR's side, starting to put down that Spinecrawler forest we always see, as his Greater Spire is just about to finish up. So he is going to be sitting on some very powerful units pretty soon.
Yeah, and he didn't actually lose a lot of units in that little poke at the 3rd base. He killed some Stalkers, killed some Zealots, and then pulled back. So overall, KiLLeR's been doing a good job taking care of his units. And that Warp Prism getting so low. Oh, whoa! 1 hit away from being taken out. 2 Zealots do get in.
Wow.
The Corruptors are like, oh, we wish we could shoot down. But they don't need to.
That's all right. Just 1 Zergling down, but it does shift the units out of position a little bit, and HuK is sending up a force of Zealots here in the top left-hand corner, possibly to assault this base on the left-hand side.
Also making 5 more gateways as well, so his ability to create units is going to be very high very soon. 6 Broodlords on the way, though, for Dignitas.KiLLeR, and here comes the fight right now. Archons a little bit exposed in the front there.
That's right. Now we have the mothership overhead, so if these overseers go down, that would be very difficult for KiLLeR to try and engage this. There, yep. Oh, he had to cancel the Broodlords, but still gets a lot of the Corruptor's Vortex. At the same time, Zealots are tearing through the base of the top left-hand corner.
Yeah, HuK's army is looking pretty strong right now. The Corruptors are about to come out of that whirlpool, though, the Vortex, so he needs to be ready for that. Doesn't want to let his mothership just die to them. Oh, yeah. And that mothership actually is in a bit of trouble. There we go. The Corruptors do have to pull back once the Stalkers start focusing on them.
And HuK is managing this engagement pretty well. He's not assaulted this position with the Spy Crawlers in the top left-hand corner. He takes out the base in the top left, so really well done by him, and he's fallen back on 4 bases himself. KiLLeR still on 4 bases, still with an almost maxed out army, but no Broodlords to speak of quite yet. In fact, just had to max on a bunch more Lings and Roaches just to get anything out there.
Yeah, so this game really could still go either way. Now, the big story here, I think, is that HuK is taking his 4th base, and there's not a lot that KiLLeR can really do about it. The positioning of HuK's army is in a great spot to respond to wherever KiLLeR decides to try to pressure. So HuK's in a pretty good position right now. And look at this, warping in more Zealots into the main. They're just standing there, but boy, are they threatening. Okay, there we go. Now they're going to go 2 damage.
Yeah, unfortunately not going to be able to do all that much as KiLLeR is reacting in time. One Spy Crawler may go down. It does. Okay, well, and kind of interesting to note, no charge research for those Zealots.
Yeah, that is a good point, that HuK has kind of neglected that for now. He's making 10 more Templar. That's a lot of Templar.
Yeah, it is.
Being made by HuK, a lot more Archons.
Wow.
And I like that. I really feel like Archons are kind of like the safest, beefiest unit to make in a lot of situations, in a lot of Protoss matchups, you know, including like PvT. If they don't have a ton of ghosts out, Archons are going to get you a long way in a defensive spot as well. But oh, nice counterattack here, and HuK's going to need to cancel.
Yeah,
and
he
does not.
Oh.
Okay, a little bit of mineral loss there for HuK.
Yeah, but he can actually take that loss right now. I mean, it's bad. He didn't want to have to do that, but that's where he kind of said that like Mr. Mackey. It's bad, okay? Anyway, Zealot coming back up to check again in the top left-hand corner, and we'll find this base being rebuilt.
Yeah, the one nice thing for HuK, I mean, he did kill as many Zerglings as he possibly could, you know, just letting that Nexus die, but still, you know, even if it's the last second, you do want to cancel just to get some money back. But you're right where HuK has a decent bank built up already. But with 10 gateways, or with more than that, he's got a lot more than 10 gateways at the moment, you're going to use up that bank really, really quickly. So HuK still needs to be careful about how he engages, how he protects expansions. Yeah, it's a lot of gateways.
18. That is a fair number of gateways if ever I've seen
good amount of gateways for right now.
And KiLLeR actually, almost losing an infestor there as he had his units on just move command across the map there, and HuK was almost able to take advantage of it. HuK does have a pretty strong force, though. As we can see, he's got +2 armor coming up as well, but it's not all that critical for these Archons. The upgrade slowly coming along for KiLLeR, though, as well. He does finally have a few Broodlords in the mix here, 6 of them to be exact.
Yep, so both players having a pretty strong late-game army. +1 air attacks are on the way, +3 ground attacks, and +2 carapace for ground. So all in all, the Broodlords between the air attack upgrades and the ground upgrades are already there, are going to be doing some pretty decent damage and be, you know, fairly durable.
Let's see here now. Just one more Broodlord morphing in at the moment. Of course, he will need a few Corruptors to deal effectively with the mothership before anything else happens. But of course, everything HuK has shoots up with the exception of just 1 Immortal sitting in the middle. So he is going to be pretty well prepared for any sort of anti-air defense.
Yeah, he's also got enough energy for 2 Vortexes now, I would assume. I think it's been long enough that he has that. So unless KiLLeR, you know, spreads things really, really well, he's got to worry. And look at this HuK being a little bit distracting with some fake Void Rays.
But it's not Idris, so he's not going to kick KiLLeR out of the game. So, anyway, I had to go there. Well, HuK, though, sitting on these 5 bases is pretty well content at the moment. I mean, he's got 3 mining bases. He's going up to, let's see, that's 21, 23 gateways, which is just insane. So he's going to be able to, I mean, when the time comes, he'll be able to replace about 50 supply instantly. With the amount of bank that he has.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, you need to really be able to do that because, you know, your bank is worthless unless you can use it right when you need it, right? So HuK is going to want to have enough gateways to remax that. Even if it uses his entire bank, his ability to kind of recreate an army or really have, wow, geez.
Yeah.
Canceling all those at once to get that overmax supply, 208 to 200. But, yeah, HuK's in a great spot. I mean, he's doing something that more Protoss are starting to do but not enough do yet, which is to legitimately, you know, make that many gateways.
Yep.
Because it essentially gives you, you know, a similar thing that Zerg has, you know, where you can remax very, very quickly.
Yeah, the gateway count just continues to soar as we see. So, wow, that's a lot of cannons down protecting that base as well. So, sitting on a monster number of gateways. This is just insane. That's 26 of them.
Well, ideally, I think you'd probably want close to 50 in this case, because you're going to lose, you know, anywhere between probably 50 to 80, maybe even upwards of 100 supply in a big late game engagement like that. So if you can have enough gateways out to recreate everything immediately, that's, you know, definitely the ideal position to be in. The thing is, though, is KiLLeR really doesn't need to attack here. We saw, remember that game between Hero and Anyang, I believe it was, last or a couple matches ago, where basically our Zerg player just kind of sat there and didn't do anything. He let Protoss attack into him over and over again, and it didn't really work out too well. HuK actually getting ship carapace, or ship carapace.
Ship armor, yes.
Flyer armor upgrades, yep, that's right.
And a couple of Void Rays there to hallucinate Void Rays to absorb some of the damage as well, which is kind of a nice touch, because any damage that they can take is actually kind of cool. So this is just like a mini skirmish up here at the front.
Yeah, and it's not going well for our Zerg player. I think he's kind of sacrificing some roaches and things like that, just trying to whittle down his force, get a few more corruptors out. Yeah, the Infestor's fairly far ahead, though. This seems a little bit dangerous. I don't know. That's a lot of vulnerable Infestors right there to a Vortex. Oh, and here comes the Mothership. HuK's thinking the same thing.
We'll find out. His Neural Parasite is not researched, so...
He could Vortex that, and he's going to. He's trying to get in position. Ooh, KiLLeR knows. At the last moment, he's playing with fire here. Oh, HuK moving up with that Mothership again.
Oh, man. Just playing around with this for now. It looks like he will be able to bait the Broodlords. Oh, wow. It actually does end up hitting a lot of HuK's units. I take that back. I apologize. He just didn't have enough energy on the Infestor that I selected, but Neural Parasite is indeed researched.
Well, I mean, the best part is that he was able to use up that energy. You know, it doesn't even matter that he doesn't catch a lot of the army. He was able to use up the energy, make it so HuK couldn't Vortex. HuK coming in now. Oh, Neural Parasite again, and another Vortex.
Oh, wow.
KiLLeR using all the energy on the Mothership, and now that's a signal to move in. KiLLeR choosing a perfect time. Will he be able to have enough?
Oh, he kills the Mothership right away, and it looks like he's going to be able to dispatch of this Nexus pretty easily as well. HuK's starting to make his way in with a lot of Stalkers on the left-hand side. There are a few Broodlords still hanging overhead, but the Corruptors are a little bit of dead weight now because they really have nothing else to do.
Yeah, HuK picking apart this army pretty quickly, actually. The Broodlords taking a lot of damage. Are there enough to take out those Stalkers? The Victory Blink underneath the Broodlords, and despite KiLLeR's sick moves with those Infestors, HuK has so many Stalkers that it doesn't even matter.
Just had too many Corruptors that weren't Broodlords, unfortunately. Changeling army sitting around lamenting the loss of their brethren, and it looks like KiLLeR going to fall back on the Spine Crawler wall here. We'll see if he has enough with the Infestors here, but uses the very last of their energy just to put out a few Infested Terrans.
Yeah, a couple Broodlords still kind of sitting there, and the game's not over yet. I mean,
HuK not at all.
Certainly won that fight pretty well, but KiLLeR doesn't really need to, you know, move out. He can kind of just sit there, be defensive. And we saw it work before. It's going to be a very long game if he decides to do that. But
drones are transferring up to the base here at the 12 o'clock position, but HuK going to be able to pretty well dispatch of those. What do we have on the field right now for KiLLeR? It's 6 Broodlords, 15 Corruptors, and 13 Infestors, and that's pretty much it. But he needs a few more of those to be Broodlords and a few less of those to be Corruptors.
Yep. And if we look at the resources right now, we do see that KiLLeR's having a little bit of trouble remaxing. He wasn't really able to get all the mining done he needed to out of his 4th and 5th bases. His other 3 are basically mined out right now. And so he's in a bit of a predicament here. HuK able to go up to his 4th and 5th bases as well. So
yeah, he's even sitting on 6 at the moment.
Yeah, he's not going to be slowing down anytime soon when it comes to army.
Not at all. So bases down pretty much everywhere for KiLLeR, just trying to produce whatever sort of an army that he can muster. But HuK is in pretty good control of this game now.
Yep, that's right. So HuK playing it kind of patiently, getting more upgrades, getting his shield upgrades right now, actually, and his +3 armor as well. KiLLeR thinking about moving out, trying to take out this bottom base, and, you know, he might be able to do it, but that's still a lot of cannons, and that's going to delay enough time for HuK to get back in position. Did HuK make another Mothership? I didn't.
Yes, he did.
Okay, he did. All right.
It's right there.
There it is. Okay, so that will be building energy as well. KiLLeR sieging up this base. HuK needs to respond.
Dispatches of a couple of the photon cannons, so at least he has a spot for these Broodlords to siege up from the left-hand side. And it looks like, oh, Neural Parasite actually hitting one of the Archons there and an Immortal, and he will be able to dispatch of those pretty quickly. But HuK, of course, reproducing that army so quickly, has that enormous bank of resources going up to very, very late-game upgrades as well.
Very true, but he does end up losing that base, too. So HuK may be tempted, and it looks like he will be, to a counterattack here.
Oh, starting to fall back at the moment, so just playing very tentatively, wants to make sure that he can completely dispatch of his opponent's army before anything else happens. Templar sitting out could hit a couple of feedbacks, especially if they're cloaked. Few units running up to the top left-hand corner before Zealots are going to be dealt with very quickly by this amount of Spine Crawlers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're not going to last very long. They may be able to DPS one of them down, and... yeah,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Killer. Good Spine Crawler micro there.
That's right. Yeah, he dodged. Good center step there.
Well, let's see now as KiLLeR throwing up a few of his Infested Terrans just to tank a couple of shots, but a lot of those originally were going to die. So trying to take out one more base, and he may actually be able to get this one.
Yeah, the Nexus is dead.
Just a couple of shots, and it's going to fall. Oh, a couple of Infestors biting the dust there. Oh, very nice job hitting some of those right back.
Yeah, there's a problem for HuK, though. I mean, he's getting into kind of a desperate situation here where he needs to win a big fight right now. He just lost 2 bases. He's only got 1 mining base left, and here he goes. HuK knowing that he needs to attack. He needs to take out this army, and efficiently as well. So many Stalkers, and they are getting delayed right now. The Corruptors soaking a lot of damage, going after the Mothership again. Oh, the Vortex misses for the most part.
Yeah, but he's going to be able to pick apart a few of these Broodlords before those units actually pop back up. So we'll see if that's going to be enough for HuK. He has enough resources. He can just drop in another billion Stalkers if he wants to, though. The Broodlords are dying off to the left-hand side. A couple of those go down. The Corruptors actually biting the dust as well. There's a blink on top of the rest of the Broodlords and Corruptors. There's the well played. KiLLeR's out of the game, and Evil Geniuses takes game number 1.
The amount of Stalkers that HuK had and kept reproducing was just incredible. I mean, I've said this for a long time about